The scalpel slipped from my fingers, clattering against the steel tray like a gunshot in the sterile silence of the ore. Blood, his blood, splattered across my gloves, warm and accusing, as the monitors screamed their frantic symphony of failure. And there he was, Colton Hayes, the ghost I'd buried a decade ago, staring up at me from the table with eyes that weren't seeing. Not anymore, because the man who'd once promised me forever had carved out my heart and left it bleeding on a Seattle sidewalk. I was Elias Grant, chief of cardiothoracic surgery at Mount Sinai, the guy who fixed broken hearts for a living, everyone else's but my own. That night in 2025, as the autumn gale howled through the canyons of Manhattan, my world cracked open again when the ER doors burst wide and they wheeled him in on a gurney, his broad chest heaving under a soaked Yankees jacket, lips blue as the Hudson in winter. Gunshot wound, nicked the aorta. The paramedic barked, but I knew before they peeled back the shirt. It was Colton. The scar from our stupid, reckless summers in the Adirondacks still etched his ribs like a tattoo of what we'd lost. He'd been shot in a mugging gone wrong down in Hell's Kitchen. Ironic, that pit of urban despair swallowing the golden boy whole. The chart said he'd flatlined twice en route, his heart too stubborn or too guilty to quit. By the time they paged me, it was past midnight, and the on-call team had already lost him once under the knife. "Dr. Grant," the resident stammered, her mask fogged with sweat. "It's bad. Pericardial tamponade. We need you now." I should have passed it off, let some other hotshot play hero. But fate, that cruel bastard, had other plans. Colton's blood type, O-negative, same as mine, flashed on the screen, and suddenly I was 16 again, stealing kisses in the back of his daddy's pickup, whispering dreams we'd never chase. I scrubbed in alone, the water scalding my skin like penance, steam rising around me like ghosts from the past. The ore was a cathedral of chrome and beeps, nurses hovering like silent judges as I pushed through the doors. There he lay, intubated and exposed, the man who'd been my everything and my nothing. Colton Hayes, ex-Marine, hotshot real estate developer, the kind of guy who turned heads in boardrooms and bars alike. Tall, with that tousled dark hair now matted with sweat, a jawline that could cut glass even in repose. We'd met at 18, freshmen at NYU, both running from small-town ghosts. Me from a Bible-thumping father in Ohio, him from a Wall Street shark dad who saw weakness in anything that wasn't a merger. Our first night together wasn't fireworks. It was a blackout in a Washington Square dive bar, rain slicking the streets as we stumbled into his dorm, fumbling with zippers and fears. "You're safe with me," he'd murmured against my neck, his breath hot and bourbon sweet, and for a while, I believed him. We built a life in stolen moments. Lazy Sundays in his Astoria walk-up, cooking spaghetti that always burned, dreaming of a cabin upstate where no one could touch us. He was my anchor in the storm of med school, pulling all-nighters with me over anatomy texts, his fingers tracing veins on my palm like he was memorizing me. But love in the shadows has teeth. Colton was closeted as a vault. His old man, Harlan Hayes, expected heirs, not scandals. "Just until I make partner," he'd say, eyes darting like we were plotting a heist. I swallowed it because what else could I do? I was the poor kid on scholarships, fighting for every scalpel skill. He was the golden ticket, the one who'd make it all mean something. Until the night it all shattered. It was a crisp October evening in 2014, leaves like fire on the quad. We'd just come back from a hike in the Palisades, our packs heavy with secrets and sandwiches. He dropped to one knee in the kitchen, not with a ring but with a letter, acceptance to some elite finance program in Chicago, a fast track to his father's empire. "This is it, Eli," he'd grinned, pulling me into a kiss that tasted like victory. We build something real, away from all this." I believed him, packed my bags that week, visions of us in a high-rise overlooking Lake Michigan, me in residency, him conquering deals. But the goodbye party at his folks' place in the Hamptons changed everything. Harlan clapped him on the back, eyes gleaming like a wolf's. "Proud of you, son. Time to settle down. Met a girl yet?" Colton laughed it off, but later, in the boathouse, his face crumpled. "Eli, what if it's easier this way? For now." I froze, the salt air thick between us. Easier? For who? He wouldn't look at me, fiddling with a rope like it could tie up his lies. "Dad's pushing. Introductions. Sarah Whitaker, old family friend. Dinner next week. It's just optics. Optics. The word landed like a scalpel to the gut. You're joking. His eyes met mine then, pleading. It's fake. Cover. We keep us on the down low, and when I'm set, when Harlan croaks and leaves you the keys to the kingdom. My voice cracked, but I didn't care. The boathouse reeked of betrayal, waves slapping the pilings like accusations. Eli, please, I love you. This doesn't change. It changes everything. I shoved him hard enough to stagger us both. I'm not your dirty secret, Colton. Not anymore. He grabbed my arm, desperation etching lines on his face I'd never seen. Don't do this. We can wait. But waiting was dying, slow and sure. I walked out into the night, the Hamptons blurring through tears, hitchhiking back to the city on a freight train of regret. He didn't chase me, didn't call. By dawn, I was in my dorm, shredding his letters, vowing to excise him like a tumor. Years blurred after that. I clawed through residency at Columbia, nights blurring into days of sutures and stents, burying the ache under layers of precision. Colton? He vanished into the machine, headlines in cranes about Hayes developments, whispers of a power couple with Sarah, the perfect facade. I saw the wedding announcement once in a Time Society page. Colton Hayes weds Whitaker heiress in Nantucket nuptials. No photo, thank God. But the knife twisted anyway. I dated a barista here, a fellow resident there, but nothing stuck. Hearts like mine don't mend easy. Now, here he was, splayed open on my table, a .38 caliber whole weeping crimson. The anesthesiologist nodded. He's stable, for now. Your call, Dr. Grant. My call. The irony burned hotter than the lights. I could walk. Let the team handle it, watch from the gallery as they bungled the repair. But the monitors dipped, his pressure tanking, and something primal surged. Love, hate, the tangled mess of us. Clamp? I snapped, gloving up. The incision was textbook. Median sternotomy, retractor in pericardium peeled back like a rotten fruit. Blood welled, thick and insistent, but I worked through it, fingers steady as I isolated the aorta. Flashbacks hit like arrhythmias. His laugh in Central Park, snowflakes catching in his lashes. The way he'd hum Springsteen off-key while I studied. Why him? A nurse murmured, suctioning away the flood. They all knew the rumors. Elias Grant, the ice-hearted surgeon who'd turned down transplants for less. But no one knew Colton. Not like I did. 2 hours in and we were losing ground. The graft wasn't taking. His rhythm fractured into V-fib. Paddles! I barked, shocking him once, twice. His body arching like a bowstring, that old spark flickering behind closed lids. In the chaos, his hand twitched, brushing mine on the drape, and for a split second, I was back in that dorm, his palm warm against my cheek. Fight, damn you! I whispered, too low for the mic to catch. You owe me that much. We pulled him through, barely, sternum wired shut, chest tube draining the dregs of his near miss. As they wheeled him to ICU, I stripped off my gown, the weight crashing down like the Hudson at flood stage. Why now? Why me? The betrayal festered, fresh as that boathouse salt. But so did the love, stubborn as his pulse. Outside, the rain eased to a drizzle, sodium lamps pooling gold on the pavement. I lit a cigarette, bad habit from residency, one I kicked except for nights like this. Leaning against the wall, exhaling ghosts. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Heard about Colton. Families flying in. You saved him, thank you. Sarah. Of course. The wife, the cover, the life he chose over me. I crushed the butt under my heel, the ember dying like a promise. But deep down, in the ventricle I'd guarded too long, a question pulsed. What if saving him meant facing us? The man who'd abandoned me wasn't just a patient now. He was a reckoning. Dawn crept over the East River like a thief, turning the skyline from bruise purple to reluctant gold. I hadn't slept, couldn't, with Colton's vitals pinging on my phone like accusatory heartbeats. Shift change buzzed around me in the lounge, coffee brewing bitter as regret. But my mind was a reel of what-ifs. What if I'd stayed that night in the Hamptons? What if his optics had crumbled under the weight of us? The ICU doors whooshed open, and there she was, Sarah Hayes, gliding in like she owned the ward, blonde bob impeccable, pearls gleaming against a cashmere sweater. Mid-40s now, still the Whitaker polish, but lines around her eyes spoke of boardrooms and betrayals. She spotted me by the nurse's station, freezing mid-stride. "Dr. Grant," she said, voice smooth as aged bourbon, extending a manicured hand. "Elias, we spoke last night. Thank you doesn't cover it." I shook it, her grip firm, professional, mine clammy under the latex ghosts. Up close, she was striking, the kind of woman who'd grace charity galas, not divorce courts. "Mrs. Hayes, he's stable. Post-op complications minimal, but he'll need monitoring. A week, maybe 2, before discharge." Her eyes searched mine, sharp as a deposition. "You knew him before." The air thickened, monitors humming like a jury. How much did she know? The society pages painted Colton as the straight arrow tycoon, but whispers followed power couples like shadows. "College," I said, neutral as a chart note. "NYU. Small world." She nodded, glancing through the glass at his bed, tubes snaking like accusations. "He talks about you sometimes. Elias the prodigy, the one who got away, to med school," he said. A pause, loaded. "But it was more, wasn't it?" My pulse spiked, unprofessional heat rising. "What do you want, Sarah?" "Honesty." She stepped closer, voice dropping. "Colton's not just a patient to you, and you're not just a surgeon to him. I saw the way you looked at him in there, last night when they called me, like you were carving out your own soul." I turned away, jaw tight, the window framing the river's indifferent flow. He made his choices. So did I. But choices have echoes. Her hand on my arm was gentle, unexpected. "He never stopped loving you, Elias. The closet was his father's, not his. Harlan died 5 years back. Cancer, quick and ugly. Colton inherited the empire, the expectations, and the regrets. Our marriage? It's paper. Separate beds since the wedding. He built walls to protect what he couldn't have." Her words landed like defibrillator pads, shocking the scar tissue loose. Paper marriage. Separate beds. All these years, I'd pictured them tangled in sheets, him whispering her name, erasing mine. But here she stood, dismantling the myth with quiet grace. "Why tell me?" "Because he's waking up. And when he does, he'll need more than morphine. He needs you." She squeezed my arm, then walked away, heels clicking like a verdict. I lingered outside his room, the door a portal to Pandora's box. Through the glass, Colton stirred, eyelids fluttering, a groan escaping the vent tube. Nurses swarmed, vitals steadying. But his gaze found the window, locking on mine like a lifeline. Blue eyes, stormy as the Atlantic, pleading without words. My chest tightened, the old wound throbbing. Betrayal wasn't just abandonment. It was the silence after. The years of radio static where love should hum. I pushed in, chart in hand like armor. "Hey, cowboy," I said, voice rougher than intended. "Welcome back." He blinked, slow, the tube muffling his response to a rasp. The nurse extubated him quick, protocol for consciousness. And when he could speak, it was my name, Eli. The sound cracked me open, that nickname a key to rusted locks. "Yeah, it's me." Tears welled in his eyes, not from pain but something deeper, raw as an exposed artery. "I shot. Muggers. Thought I was done." "You almost were." I checked the drip, avoiding his stare. "Aorta's patched. You'll have a hell of a scar. Matching the old one." He winced, shifting, the monitors beeping approval. You saved me." "Why?" Question of the decade. I met his eyes then, the room shrinking to just us, the air electric with unsaid sins. "Because I'm an idiot. Or because some debts don't die." His laugh was weak, ragged, but real, echoing our old dorm nights. "Geode. Eli. You look good. Tired, but good. Chief now, huh? Saw it in the Times. Flattery from a ghost. Flattery won't fix your EF. Rest." But he reached, fingers grazing mine, tentative, electric. "Wait, please. I'm sorry. For everything. Chicago, the wedding. Save it, Colton." The words lashed out, sharper than I meant. "You chose the kingdom.
He chose survival.
His face crumpled, hand dropping. I chose fear. Dad found out about us. The night after the boathouse. Hired PIs threatened to cut me off, expose you. Said it'd ruin your career before it started. A sob hitched his breath. I let him win. Told myself it was temporary. But temporary became forever. Sarah knew, agreed to the sham for the shares. But you were the real loss. The confession hung, heavy as humid July air. Fear, not indifference. All those nights I'd replayed the abandonment, scripting villains, and here was the truth. A scared kid buckling under empire weight. Human, frail, like the heart I just mended. You broke me? I whispered, throat tight. Left me to pick up the pieces alone. I know. Tears tracked his temples. Every merger, every deal, it was ash without you. Came out last year quietly. Board knows, friends know. Even tried therapy, group in the village for execs like me. But seeing you now, it's like breathing again. The room spun, monitors a distant drone. Romance wasn't dead. It was resurrected, fragile as a fresh graft. I sat, taking his hand, calloused from handshakes, not hikes, and let the silence heal what words couldn't. Outside, the city pulsed. Taxis honking, vendors calling, the American dream grinding on. But in here, two men who'd hidden too long faced the dawn. That afternoon, as rain pattered the windows, Sarah returned, with coffee, black as my mood. Talk to him, she said, handing me a cup. He's a mess, but an honest one now. I sipped, scalding. And you? What's your angle? She smiled, wistful. Freedom. Divorce papers are drafted, amicable, with the prenup intact. Colton's donating his shares to queer youth housing. Starting over, real this time. Humanity in the machine. I nodded, the pieces shifting. He mentioned Chicago. Go. Take him upstate when he's out. The cabin you dreamed of, it's his now. Harlan's old place in the Catskills. Waiting. She left us then, the door clicking shut like permission. Colton slept, exhausted. But his hand stayed in mine, pulse steady under my thumb. For the first time in years, my own heart didn't ache. It hoped. Weeks blurred into a fragile routine. Post-op checks bleeding into late-night talks. Colton healing under my watch like a penance paid in patience. Manhattan thawed into November's brittle chill. Leaves skittering like escaped secrets across Central Park. He mended fast. Marine grit, developer drive. But the real surgery was ours, excising the lies layer by layer. One evening, as twilight bled orange over the reservoir, I wheeled him out for fresh air. Against protocol. But who was going to stop the chief? We parked by the Bethesda fountain. The angel poised eternal above us, and he gripped the chair arms, eyes fierce. Eli, I can't leave it like this. The abandonment, it's my millstone. I lit 2 cigarettes, sharing vices like old times, passing one over. Then unburden it. All of it. He exhaled slow, smoke curling like confessions. After you left the Hamptons, I drove all night. Ended up at Dad's office, 3 a.m., pounding the desk till security dragged me out. He called it dawn. Fix it or you're done. So I did. Flew to Chicago solo, buried myself in spreadsheets. Met Sarah at a gala, Whitaker connection. She was kind. Knew I was gay from the start. Said it'd make us the perfect pair. No sex, no strings, just survival. The park hummed around us. Joggers in neon, dogs chasing frisbees. The city's in different heartbeat. And me? Did you ever look back? Every damn day. His voice cracked, raw. Tracked your residency online, anonymous donations to your alma mater. Even flew to your graduation, watched from the back, suit and tie like a spy. You in that gown, shaking hands. I almost ran up, begged. A laugh escaped me, bitter as black coffee. Coward. Yeah. He met my gaze, unflinching. Biggest one I knew. Came out to Mom first. She cried, then hugged me. Dad? He raged, then softened, apologized on his deathbed. Should have let you love who you love, son. Too late, but it cracked the vault. Smoke mingled between us, a bridge over the chasm. Romance flickered in the embers. Not fireworks, but hearth fire warm, the kind that warms winters. Why the mugging? I asked, the question gnawing. Hell's Kitchen's not your haunt. He shrugged, wincing at the pull on sutures. Scouting a site, affordable housing for LGBTQ kids. Ironic twist. Late walk, wrong alley. Pop pop, and here we are. Fate's cruel poetry. I stubbed my cigarette, the butt hissing in the grass. And now? What's the play, Hayes? His hand found mine, tentative as first touch. If you'll have me, a second act. No empires, no covers. Just us. Cabin in the Catskills, you saving lives, me building homes for kids like we were. The offer hung, vulnerable as an open chest. Conflict raged. Trust shattered once, could rebuild? Betrayal's scar itched, but so did possibility. The humanistic pull of forgiveness, not for him, but for the boy I'd been, the man I could be. Slow, I said finally. No promises. But, yeah, let's try. He grinned, that old flash of teeth, pulling me down for a kiss. Chaste, salt-kissed, the angel fountain weeping approval. No heat, just heart. Lips brushing like vows renewed, the park fading to a blur. Discharge day dawned crisp, frost limming the windows. Sarah handled the paperwork, elegant as ever, slipping me a key on a leather fob. Cabin stocked. Go heal. Her hug was brief, sisterly. Take care of him, Elias. And yourself. We drove north in his Audi. Top down despite the bite, wind whipping our regrets away. The Catskills rose like forgiving giants, peaks dusted white, the thruway giving way to winding blacktop. Colton navigated from the passenger seat, voice light. Turn left at the Oak, Harlan's old haunt. Thought it'd make a good halfway house once. The cabin squatted on a hill, timber beams weathered gray, porch swing creaking in the breeze. Inside, stone hearth, quilts faded but soft, a kitchen scarred from forgotten suppers. No ghosts, Harlan's empire stripped, replaced by possibility. We unpacked slow, his duffel of slacks yielding to flannel, my scrubs swapped for jeans. Dinner was simple. Steak on the grill, potatoes charred just right, eaten on the deck as stars pricked the velvet sky. That night, fire crackling, we sat close. Not lovers yet, but companions. Remember our Adirondacks pact? He asked, bourbon sloshing in his glass. Till death do us part, or the world ends. I nodded, flames dancing in his eyes. World didn't end, but it bent us. Bent, not broke. His fingers laced mine, steady. We mend now, together. Sleep came easy, separate rooms but doors ajar, the cabin breathing with us. Dreams wove old pains into new peace. Hikes without hiding, hands held in sunlight. Climax hit a month later, back in the city for his checkup. My schedule clashed. A transplant for a kid from Queens, heart failing from undiagnosed defect. Colton waited in the lounge, but pages flew. Donor viable but complications, recipient crashing. I scrubbed in, hand steady, but midway, my phone vibrated silent. Eli, mugging wasn't random. Cops say it was a hit. Old rival from Dad's deals. They're coming for me. The world tilted, scalpel hovering. Betrayal's echo. Not past, but present. Harlan's sins stalking us. I finished the graft, kid's heart beating strong. Then bolted to the lounge, finding Colton pale, detective in cheap suit murmuring codes. Elias, he breathed, standing. They think it's tied to a land grab, Hayes versus some syndicate. I should have told you sooner. Sung. Surged. Trust tested anew, the Empire's shadow clawing back. You knew? And said nothing? Feared it'd scare you off. His eyes pleaded, the lounge blurring with staff glances. But I'm handling it, lawyers, security. We face it together. The detective cleared his throat. Mr. Hayes, we need a statement. I stepped between them, hand on Colton's shoulder. Anchor, not abandonment. Give us a minute. Alone, I cupped his face, thumbs tracing jaw. No more secrets. We fight this, cops, courts, whatever. But together. Relief flooded him. Kiss fierce but fleeting. Promise in pressure. Together. The storm broke. Testimonies in fluorescent bullpens. Headlines splashing. Developer dodges bullet. Literally. Threats mounted. Burned effigies at sites. Anonymous calls. But we weathered, Colton testifying crisp. Me at his side. the cabin our bunker. Romance deepened in the fray. Quiet drives, shared silences. Love not as blaze but bedrock. Resolution came in spring. Verdicts sealing the syndicate's fate. Colton clearing his name. We sold the empire remnants, funneling proceeds to that youth foundation, homes for hidden hearts. No grand wedding, no fanfare. Just us, vows whispered on the porch swing. Rings simple silver, etched with bent, not broke. Years on, gray threading our hair, we mentor. Me in ORs, teaching precision. Him in boardrooms turned classrooms, building futures. The scar on his chest fades, but ours is a map of abandonment redeemed, betrayal to bond. In America's grind, towers and trials, we found grace. Two men, mended, whole. Humanity isn't perfection. It's the pull toward light, even in shadow. And in each other's arms, under Catskill stars, we shine.